Our first guest this week is Mr. Tyrone Docherty. He's the CEO of a company called Deerhorn Capital Incorporated, listed in Canada, DHC, listed in the US, GODYF. Ty, welcome back to the program.
Oh, nice to be here, Don. Thank you for having me.
It's been a little while since we had you on the show. Why don't you tell us again what the company does?
Well, we explore for precious metals, gold and silver. We got a great deposit up there in Canada, the Deerhorn property. But what makes us unique is we also have this critical metal called Tellurium, which is now getting into people's attention as being something very important in green energy, electric vehicles, and so on. And because of that, and our basically first in the loop to go after Tellurium, in the last 3 weeks or so, we talked about optioning a property in Colorado called the Klondike property. It's a high-grade gold, silver, but we went after it for the Tellurium because the grades there are just so much richer than anything we've ever seen around the world. It sort of justifies what we've been doing for a couple of years, and we're just starting to get some attention from people that finally figured it out.
We put out a big press release this week. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it's basically what it does. It endorses what we're saying. Rio Tinto, big copper company out of Utah, announced a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that they're building a special plant specifically to process tellurium. And then another magazine article a week after that talked about First Solar, the big solar panel manufacturer, apparently is trying to get all of the tellurium produced by Rio Tinto for their purposes, for their solar panels. So that sort of lets people know that tellurium is coming along, and it's been under the radar. Well, so far under the radar. It's finally peeking its head up to let people know what it's all about. And the interesting thing is our partner, one of our partners, is called Phoenix with an F, Phoenix Advanced Materials. They're one of a couple companies in the world that make ultra high purity metals. And one of the minerals they concentrate on is tellurium. And they put out a news release last week, and we'll probably mention that next week to our shareholders just to update them, people such as your viewers, on what tellurium is used for, because up to now, most people have thought it's basically for the solar panel industry, and it has by and large. And obviously First Solar thinks it's beneficial compared to some of the other materials, and it's very important for the cadmium tellurium mixture. But Phoenix Advanced Materials, they've also been working on a lithium tellurium battery, which under my understanding is far superior to the lithium ion battery that was the craze in the market 3 or 4 years ago. Apparently it's much more effective and cheaper. So they're working with the University of British Columbia to develop a patent which will certainly come in handy when all these electric vehicles start taking shape, because obviously if you can get a battery that's superior, people are going to be interested. So tellurium is the key mineral in that one as well. But what makes it interesting, and I just learned it from the press release from Phoenix last week, is that the battery is not just being made for electric vehicles, Don. It's also being used for mobile phones, computers, and the like. So if you can imagine, if the battery ends up being as good as they think it is, and these guys are world experts, they're very confident, then the market's going to open up not just to solar panels, but also to mobile phones, computers, other processors. So we're in the right space at the right time, and these news releases from both Rio Tinto and from Phoenix Advanced shortly puts us in the spotlight, and we're just starting to get attention from people realizing that, I don't want to call ourselves the tellurium kings of the junior market, but we don't know if anyone else is in our space, and certainly no one has the access to the properties that we have right now. They're phenomenal. So it's making my life a little bit easier over the last week to tell people, look, you may not have understood what we were doing and why we did those things, but if you believe in green energy and you believe that the world is changing, then if the tellurium is as valuable as Phoenix says it is, then we're in the right space.
Well, it sounds like tellurium is the next big mineral coming down.
Oh, it is. And the interesting thing about it, Don, is that it's the 8th or 9th rarest metal in the world. So there's 2 basic ways to get it, is to in situ mining, like up at the Deerhorn, where that represents about 10% of the supply around the world, and the other 90% comes from copper refining as a byproduct, such as what Rio Tinto is announcing. So the supply will be constant from copper producers while the price of copper is up, but when it goes down, then they look for other methods to add to that as well. So we'd like to be on both sides of it. So we're talking to people perhaps being able to get some of the tellurium that's coming out of the copper processing. We haven't got anything finalized yet, but it's always nice to have our fingers in 2 different pies. But in any event, people will have to get their supply from somewhere, because as I think it was President Trump and also I believe President Biden has said that they want to make sure that the critical metals that are needed by U.S. industry is not relying on Asia in general and China specifically to get those minerals, because if they cut it off, you know there's a problem. So that's where most of the tellurium is coming from right now, is China. So obviously it behooves North American industry and in fact European industry to create their own supply. So having a mineral that is very tough to get and it's supply crunch, that puts us in good stead indeed, no question. And as I mentioned, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but the Klondike also has historically high-grade gold and silver. So I think we're in a very good situation there indeed.
Now, are you able to mine tellurium as environmentally soundly as you do gold and silver?
Yes, there's no problems with it at all. There's processes to do it, so it's very easy to do. And I learned that from the PEA, the preliminary economic assessment that was done on the Deerhorn property. They talk about the methods that are used, so there won't be any environmental issues whatsoever. And one thing I should mention, Don, is the fact that the Klondike property used to be a part of the First Solar's own mining division way back when. So a question I get from people when they understand that, they say, well, if the property's so good, and it is phenomenal, with a capital F, a joke, phenomenal, why would First Solar drop it? And the answer is very simple, is that some of the my understanding is some of the shareholders of First Solar were saying back in 2008 or 9, well, if you're an environmentally green company, what the heck are you doing in the dirty world of mining? It's a bit of a hypocritical. So they said, why don't you, so they decided to drop the mining and buy the tellurium on the open market. It costs probably an extra few pennies per every solar panel that they make, but at least they can hold their head high as a green company. So the person we bought it from was the exploration manager for First Solar. He bought it off them in 2012, I believe, and has had it ever since. And we've been talking for a number of years, and the time is right, and we're very excited to have it because it's a property like no other.
Exciting times. Once again, Deerhorn Capital Incorporated, listed in Canada, DHC, listed in the United States, GODYF. Ty, congratulations on those developments. Great story continues.
Thank you, Don. Much appreciate having me on.